Today I am doing a live fire pig roast on the Lone Star Grillz Santa Maria rotisserie. Are you like me and you've seen those do-it-yourself rotisserie pig kits and been putting this off for years? Well, I assure you, a rotisserie pig is much easier than you might build up in your own mind. But to get started, there are a few key steps, including a brine. So let me take you back to yesterday and catch you up on everything that you've missed so far. And when you rejoin me present day, I'll walk you through exactly how I ran my Lone Star Grillz Santa Maria for a live fire pig roast. And a little bit after this pig is ready to rest, we'll be ready to dive in for our taste test. Okay, so the first question that comes up is, James, should we inject something like a little hog and or go for an overnight wet brine? So my 2 cents on this is it depends on if you're doing a competition or you're doing this in the backyard. Having competed at Memphis in May, there is not time in your work back schedule to show up with your hog on ice and add an overnight wet brine. Often what you're doing is you're showing up with it on ice, you're getting to work injecting it immediately, getting some rub on that, and actually starting your cook that same day overnight and getting ready to turn it into the judges the next day. So there's just not the luxury of time for doing a wet brine, which is where all those fancy injection compounds come from. And I'll remind you, not only my own experience getting to sample some of the award-winning barbecue, including first place in a couple categories. Last year when I competed, some of the same teams, including Heath Riles and Ribs, won this year, that this is not something that you would want to eat an entire meal of. What's great for competition isn't actually really edible in a backyard. And don't take my word for it, take even someone like Harry Sue, as a 3-time world grand champion, who says the exact same thing, that competition barbecue is not maybe the pursuit of what you want to do in the backyard. And we can save some money since these injections with phosphates and a whole bunch of other trick stuff end up costing a lot. I'd spend about $75 in product for something like the little pig that we are going to be doing today versus only a couple bucks in household ingredients if we were to make our overnight wet brine. So now we've answered that question. To do the right thing for your context, if you're in a competition, go for the injections since you don't have the luxury of time. Since we have the luxury of time, I think we can get some amazing flavors and adjust exactly what we want to get out of our brine as well as our rub later on. So let's come nice and close. I'll show you how to make it. Okay, I've already added about 13 cups of water and started to bring that up to a boil so we can get to work on adding our ingredients. I'll put all the details on the website so you don't frantically need to take screenshots of everything that we're doing, but we're gonna start with about 5.5 cups of Diamond Crystal kosher salt and stir that so we wait till it's fully incorporated. Once that goes translucent and I no longer see we have large amounts of salt on the bottom, we can add in our 2 cups of sugar. Next, I have my mixture of rosemary, thyme, and sage. This is about 3 packages of rosemary at the grocery store, 1 of thyme, and 1 of sage. 1 orange sliced. 4 lemons sliced. You can either do 17 cloves of diced garlic or 3 tablespoons of the prepared garlic from Costco, a little bit less effort, and it tastes just as good for a wet brine. About a 5-inch piece of ginger sliced. Just use a spoon to peel off the skins. 2 tablespoons of black peppercorns. 1 tablespoon of red chili flakes. And 5 bay leaves. Turn off our heat and I'm just going to let this marinate for at least 20 minutes. We're gonna cut this down with about 8 bags of grocery store ice to not only get it cool so we're not putting any heat onto our pork that we're going to be holding overnight, but also that'll give this time for all those ingredients to fully incorporate. So I'm just going to let this cool. I'll rejoin you a little bit later on when we're ready to add our ice on top of our pig. Okay, our brine has been left on the counter to cool off. We're nearly an hour, but there's still a little bit of heat in there. So I've already added 2 bags of gas station sort of ice into our cooler to start to pre-cool it. This also gave me time to go to my local butcher and pick up our pig, and I've got some extra bags of ice to make sure that we cool this down to ice cool temperatures. We don't want to take something that's hot and put it on a refrigerated raw pork, as that could potentially take us from food safe temperatures into a bacteria risk zone. So I want to make sure that you see ice in your cooler, not just now, but throughout all night and into the next morning when we remove it, to make sure that there's nothing potentially getting a little bit warmer than it should. Now, just a word on moving forward. I will be moving into showing and cooking our little pig. So if this is something that makes you squeamish and you want to jump ahead to the taste test, by all means, I'll put chapters down below. The farm, the butcher, and the association that governs that where I live, everything is done to the highest standard from an animal safety and well-being and responsible butchering practices. But I know this can divide some in the crowd for those outside of barbecue who maybe haven't gone to see a pig roast or a whole hog competition barbecue or anything like that. So disclosure warning, moving forward, I will be prepping and preparing and cooking our pig. And so I put chapters if you'd rather just jump to the taste test and or maybe see you in a future video. So let's start to cool off our brine. We'll get our pig out and set it for our overnight brine in the wet brine, making sure to add ice as necessary so that we have ice in our cooler at all times until we're ready to get it out and install it on our rotisserie spit and add our dry rub. That's everything for today's steps. For me, I have to wait all night in terms of when I see you next to get ready for our dry rub, but for you, the wait will go by just like this. A big thanks to EcoFlow and the Delta 3 Plus for sponsoring today's video. While the use cases for portable power are nearly endless, I'm going to share my 4 favorite plus a bonus 5th surprise one at the end. So starting with some of the most common and obvious ones, this can include things like camping. Many campsites don't have ample power that I can actually run our air conditioner, and in the hot, humid summer weather, we want to get a couple hours of air and knock out some heat and humidity inside our RV. The second one is a pastime favorite of the channel, which includes tailgating. And there are lots of opportunities that you might want some power when you're tailgating, whether it be bringing a TV to watch the game while you're tailgating, speakers, a mini fridge, and or even using some mobile grill equipment. But it's not just camping and tailgating where this proves useful. There are a couple use cases at home that make a ton of sense. I sit just about 200 feet above sea level, but it's actually the water table being near a lake that's a problem. So in spring weather, when we get lots of rain, flooding in the basement has been a real issue. We lost our basement shortly after moving in. And so using the EcoFlow as a power backup supply where there's like a 10 millisecond switch over and make sure that things like our sump pump don't go out, and or in a barbecue channel, I have lots of stored good stuff in the fridge and the freezer, but you can run up to 99% of household appliances using something like the Delta 3 Plus that I have in front of me. And then 4th on my list, being in YouTube, there are again plentiful use cases. When I do trips like Texas and or I was down in Tennessee and Georgia filming some behind the smoker scenes, things like my drone, laptop, camera, mics, equipment, and lighting are all plenty use cases. And that sort of spills into the bonus 5th one, which is including today's advert has been filmed by power exclusively provided by the Delta 3 Plus. If you're in the market for a portable power station and haven't heard of EcoFlow, they're actually the global #1 supplier of portable power stations by sales, but there's 5 common features that I think could help you make up your decision. First is reliable power. Everything from keeping your home running to all those portable use cases that we covered before. Second is it's safe and quiet to use indoors. This stays under 30 decibels, so it won't interrupt things like your sleep patterns, whether you're at home and or in a tent. It won't be something that's keeping you and your friends and family awake all night long. Third, it's simple and easy to use. This is a plug and play design that anyone in our family, from kids to adults, can navigate how to use and get the most out of the EcoFlow Delta 3 Plus. Fourth is speed. I love performance, but fast recharging. This is where the EcoFlow line is an industry leader. I already covered in the car, if you were doing something like a tailgate and you forgot to charge it, you can plug it in even using car power and go from 0 to fully charged in just over an hour. But if you have power nearby, you're able to go from 0 to a useful charge in as little as 30 minutes and completely charged in under an hour. And finally is sustainability. There's an abundance of options, everything from AC power to things like solar panels in order to recharge this from an eco-friendly and sustainable manner for years to come. Prime Day is here. So whether you're preparing for something like this season's hurricane season or a more enjoyable use case like camping, RVing, and or just looking for some home power security like I use for my fridge and freezer to make sure that I don't lose all that investment in products that I plan to barbecue throughout the season, now is the best time to get an amazing deal. You can save up to 62% with some additional savings available using the coupon codes below. Be sure to check out all the details in the description after today's video. Thanks again to EcoFlow for sponsoring today's video. Now, back to the action. Well, welcome to the next day. So our ice bath worked fantastically well. I didn't end up needing to add any extra ice. In fact, in hindsight, I might have been able to get away with one less bag as our pig is ice cold temperatures. And so to start getting a little bit warmer, the first order of business that I had this morning is to remove it from the ice bath and get it on the counter here so it could start to shake off some of that ice cold effect from being in the cooler in our brine overnight. The next thing that I wanted to do is start to get a coal bed going in my Santa Maria grill so that I have those coals already dispersed, bring the fire bricks up to heat temperature so we get some of that radiant heat, as well as the amazing flavor of burning charcoal versus newly lit charcoal. So that's the first thing that I did, is open up a bag of Fogo, place some in each corner, and use my grill blaze or grill gun until I see white ash over coals. Getting a bit of a coal bed established will just save me some time and jump straight to the good part when it comes to our flavor. Speaking of flavor, I'm gonna go for my Tex-Mex inspired rub. This is a creation that I put together. I share all my rub recipes for free. I'm gonna add a chapter immediately after this since I need to add the rub right now and then get the pig spinning on our rotisserie. But I've recorded this previously, so I've got a chapter right after this if you'd like to see how it all comes together, and or if you just want to jump to the website at smokingdeadbbq.com. I also have rub recipes along with a whole bunch of other written recipes that can give you all the details. Otherwise, I'll get the meter probes install our pig on the spit, and I'll join you over at the Santa Maria when we're ready to start spinning our little rotisserie pig. Okay, let's get ready to make our Tex-Mex rub. The flavor profile that I'm going for is something very similar to Holy Voodoo by Meat Church. This isn't a Holy Voodoo bottle, and there's a couple ingredients that I don't have that Holy Voodoo would have, including things like MSG, terminato sugar, as well as dehydrated jalapeno powder. But this is gonna give us a lot of the same great taste, a little bit less sugar, and it's using less expensive ingredients that you can find around your house. So let's get ready to make it up. I'm gonna make a recipe that will come close to filling a larger bottle, but you can cut this in half for something like a smaller shaker. Let's get started with 1 cup of Diamond Crystal kosher salt. Next, we need 10 tablespoons of smoked paprika. Six tablespoons of granulated garlic powder. 6 tablespoons of brown sugar. Next, we need 3 tablespoons of fresh cracked black pepper, and using my pepper can as measurement, a full one of these caps is 2 tablespoons. So I'll take you fast forward while I crack up some fresh pepper. Half cap more. Add our pepper. Next up will be some oregano followed by onion powder. We're gonna start with 2 tablespoons of dried oregano, 1 tablespoon of onion powder. And again, this is granulated, not the really fine powder. Down into the teaspoon range, we're almost there, team. So we'll start with 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 2 more teaspoons of cayenne pepper, cumin, and last but not least, celery seed. Bring you close, show you our layers. We'll give this a shake to make sure everything's fully incorporated. That looks good. This dry rub recipe, along with all my other dry rub recipes and written recipes, live on the Smoking Dad Barbecue website. Link is down in the description for after today's video. Now this is ready, let's get it on. Okay, we're ready to get some seasoning on. If I was working with a large pig, I would want to score the skin in order to get that nice crispy effect. On smaller pigs, the skin is a little bit thinner and typically isn't a struggle. We'll see if that comes back to haunt us later on with getting a crispy skin. So I'm not going to score everything. So we'll get some seasoning on the inside, outside, and then we'll do some touch up afterwards. I'll take you fast forward while we get some seasoning on. So this is easier on a larger pig where the forks fit more easily into the rib cage, but I was able to get that. So I've just placed the fork so I can still access the screws and tighten those down. I've got a pair of pliers, so I'm just gonna push the top one into the rib cage, the lower fork into the hams, and then I realized I forgot some butcher's twine, so I'll go grab that and we could truss up the legs and make sure that everything stays nice and tight. So I'll take you back to fast forward while we keep tying everything down. Now that everything's nice and tight with pliers so these won't come loose in the middle of the cook, we can seal up the belly. I'm just using a skewer thread. Grab a meter probe and I'm gonna track along in one of our hams. Touch up any seasoning. We're ready to get this on. Rake our coal bed around. I'm getting ready to dive into some amazing pulled pork. If you could hear the sound of the skin on the microphone, as crispy as it gets, and I can't wait to see how we did. Now for our sauce, I've got a little bit left over of the bar-a-bbq rib glaze recipe. This is amazing on ribs. I've used it on beef back ribs and pulled pork. It's absolutely amazing. Now, disclosure on that is Cooper shared a recipe originally online for free with a friend, Al from Eat More Vegans or Beyond the Food, who was there last year. He's updated the recipe since I visited earlier in 2025, and he now sells a rib glaze on his website. So I'm not giving away the version that I've purchased and Cooper is selling, but it is a great starting point, and I've scaled it down for you down to a liter size versus a massive quart recipe or so, that, or 6 quarts I think it might have been, that Cooper's recipe is using for the restaurant. So I added a chapter right now to show you how I made that, and as soon as you're back, we'll be shredding into this pig. So I've scaled this recipe down to make just over a liter. So let's get started with our ketchup. We're gonna do 1.25 cups of ketchup. Third cup brown sugar. Third cup white sugar. 2/3 cup honey or maple syrup, which is one of the additions that I suggested to Cooper, and he tried and actually included it on his video of pork belly burnt ends on his channel. It's really good. Also mixes a little bit easier than honey. Apple cider vinegar. Another 1/3 cup, but of white vinegar. 1/3 cup of water. 1/3 cup of wash your sister sauce, as they called it in Texas. 2 teaspoons black pepper. I've already cracked some up with my pepper cannon. 2 teaspoons of cumin. And lastly, the same amount, another 2 teaspoons of onion and garlic. Mix that up. We're ready. Okay, I'm gonna start removing our ham here. Oh, that looks good, juicy. Hopefully it's coming through again. Crispy. Move our bottle. I'll take you fast forward while I get to work on our hams, our loin. Like I said, it's windy, and our shoulders. Add some rib glaze on our sample here. Now we can dive in for our taste test. If you're curious, I got about 2 pans, foil pans, of yield out of that 20 pounds, so plenty for our family. I can't wait. I held off to this point, so you're with me. Cheers. No matter what you have to cook on, it doesn't necessarily need to be 48 inches, but live fire, cooking directly over the coals. That hill country style barbecue just hits different. It's a shame it's a dying breed. When I visited Texas, only a handful of places still do this with whole hogs, but wow, that is an instant teleportation device to some amazing hill country barbecue. Rotisserie pig is fantastic. I'm gonna go for another bite. Cheers again. Fantastic. It didn't change from the first bite to the second bite. So this is part of one of the reasons that I wanted to investigate having a Santa Maria style grill a year ago, is for large cooks like that. And I wanted to see if it'd be something that would fit potentially in a future plan for adding on a trailer offset. I will say, after a year or so of learning, I've absolutely loved the flavor of everything that's come off of my Lone Star Santa Maria. But I will say, in the energy efficiency in a cold northern climate, even on a day like today where it's in the kind of mid 70s to low 80s, it uses a lot more fuel than something obviously like a ceramic Kamado would and or an offset. And so earlier this year, I did place an order for something else that Lone Star Grillz sells, and I can't wait to share that with you soon, as I think it's going to be a bit of a best of both worlds. Everything that I've loved about my Santa Maria, plus giving me an opportunity to use it a little bit more year-round and put a bit of a cost cap, if you will, on the fuel usage, particularly when it's a little bit colder. That's it for today. I'm James from @bbq signing off. Remember, don't be afraid to fire it up. Oh yeah. Wow.